Rajon Rondo has always been known as a quiet yet super intelligent basketball player. It's the reason he's won championships and is always valued on whatever team he's on. Throughout his legendary career as a point guard, Rondo has impressed the world with excellent plays and incredible performances. So let's get this video started with a move that so many NBA players try to replicate nowadays. Now, I'm not quite sure if Rondo was the official creator of this move, but the play he used it on went down in the history books. The Boston Celtics were playing the Milwaukee Bucks, and Rondo came around a screen and started to attack the basket. The help defender didn't stick with the screener, so Rondo ended up having two guys draped all over him when he was about to go for a layup. He needed to do something fast, or else the possession would go nowhere. And that's when he pulled the ball all the way behind his back with his right hand and faked a pass. The fake behind the back pass actually got one defender to jump into the air in order to block it. Then the other defender literally walked away from Rondo so that he could run to defend the screener that he thought was going to get the ball. Meanwhile, Rondo tucked it back into his chest and had an easy 2 points gifted to him for that incredible move. Not many players are able to pull it back as far as Rondo did, which is why it was so unbelievable and impressive in the NBA community. Moving on to another excellent play by Rondo that impressed the world, the Celtics were playing the Golden State Warriors here, and Rondo had the ball at the top of the key. He drove into the paint hard but got cut off by his defender. Rajon knew that he wouldn't be able to get all the way back to the basket, so he perfectly timed a spin move to his left to avoid the defender and have a good amount of space in the middle of the paint. He jumped up like he was going to attempt a small floater inside, but while he was still in the air, he noticed a teammate cutting to the corner. Instead of the floater, Rondo decided that he wanted to swing the ball around his body and throw a beautiful behind-the-back pass to that dude in the corner, who knocked down the triple to seal the play for his team. When you watch this play in real time, it seems so fast that it's hard to imagine how in the world he was able to contort his body like that so smoothly. Then you rewatch it from a different angle, and you can just instantly tell how Rondo just glided around the court on offense and how easy he made plays like this look. Passes like that are still one of the most impressive parts of the game today, and Rondo showed it in this clip. Now let's get into some of Rondo's major team accomplishments that helped impress the entire world at the time. The first one is the time that Rondo helped lead his Boston Celtics to a massive NBA championship run during the 2007-2008 NBA season. It was just the second season of Rondo's excellent career at the time, and yet Boston relied on him so much on both ends of the floor. The young point guard was able to make such an impact despite his inexperience. He averaged 10.6 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game, on top of 1.7 steals per contest. And these stats helped the Celtics march through the playoffs and grab that championship. Now, obviously other star players like Paul Pierce really put them over the edge here, but for a young player like that to impact the game so early on and make his team championship winners is truly impressive. Fast forward a bunch of playoff runs later, and Rondo found himself on the Los Angeles Lakers in 2019-2020. Rondo, of course, was much older at this time and was only a role player on this team who was coming off the bench. Nevertheless, Rondo impacted the game and helped the young players get better when he was on the court. He averaged 7.1 points and 5 assists per game for the Lakers and helped them win a championship in the NBA bubble. Some don't believe the bubble championship run was that impressive for whatever reason, but I personally think that was one of the toughest ways to win a championship. There were no fans during the games, which meant no home court advantage or momentum to push you forward. Players had to sleep in their hotel rooms without being allowed to leave a specific area. I'm sure it was really difficult the entire way through, yet they still managed to pull away with the championship. Given Rondo's age at the time, I think it makes that success even greater. Now, unlike some superstar players in today's game, Rondo never really had a knack for scoring the basketball, but he did in this game, and it's the reason why this game went down as his best scoring game ever. The battle was between the Celtics and the Miami Heat back in 2012. These two teams already didn't like each other, and now they were playing in a playoff series. Not just any series either, it was the Eastern Conference Finals, and both teams desperately wanted to get into the NBA Finals. They entered into a critical game in the series, and Rondo just didn't want to lose. The pass-first point guard realized that his team needed all that he could give offensively, and so Rajon ended up dropping 44 points, 10 assists, and getting 8 rebounds on the night. He only attempted 2 3-pointers, but banked both of them in and sank 10 out of his 12 free throws. He ended up making 16 of his 24 total shot attempts from the floor that night, but it still wasn't enough. The Celtics wound up losing that game and the series to the Heat, but fans couldn't help but feel shocked about the performance they'd just seen from Rondo. To this date, Rondo has never scored higher than 44 points in a single game, and given the circumstances in this one, it's safe to say that there are a lot of players out there who couldn't have done that. For a guard who usually just leans on being the floor general with his basketball IQ, to take over a game with his shooting ability and handles was just phenomenal to watch. And sticking with his career highs, we've got to mention his best passing game of his career. Rondo was on the New Orleans Pelicans at the time, and the team was up against the Brooklyn Nets. This year saw Rondo as the starting point guard of a squad with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins clogging up the paint, dominating on both ends of the floor. It was really the perfect situation for Rondo, but in this game, he just took his play to a whole nother level. Rondo dished out a ridiculous 25 assists in the game to help his team win by double digits. It's so rare for any player to total that many assists, but he seemed to do it effortlessly. Almost as effortless as it would be to hit that subscribe button, guys. Yeah, that's right. It's just so easy to do. So what are you doing? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button before Rondo realizes that you aren't a subscriber. All right, back to our story. To make this game even stranger and more impressive, Rondo scored 2 points. Yep, that's it, just the 2 points. He made 1 of his 5 shots from the field and snagged 7 rebounds. Nobody else on the team was able to total more than 5 assists. That was Boogie Cousins, who had 5. And I don't know if Rondo just saw the court in slow motion that day or if the Nets just refused to defend Davis and Cousins. Either way, we never get to see a player put up numbers like that passing, especially because a lot of younger players prefer to score more than they do pass. Moving on now to another game that was in a huge playoff series. The Celtics were playing the Chicago Bulls, and Boston ended up winning the opening round of the playoffs against Chicago in what ended up being a 7-game series, but it wasn't always easy. In fact, what was super impressive about one of these games isn't even anything that happened stat-wise. Instead, it was Rondo's minutes played that really caught the attention of fans and coaches and really impressed everybody. We've seen players get pulled early from games nowadays due to rest issues and coaches not wanting to run their superstar players into the ground, but back then, they didn't seem to care. If coaches wanted to win a game, they hoped that their players were conditioned enough to handle the circumstances. In this crucial playoff game, the Celtics got themselves stuck in a triple overtime game against the Bulls, one they actually lost by 1 point. Rondo had 8 points, 9 rebounds, and 19 assists, the most Rondo-like stat line you'll ever see, right? However, he played a whopping 57.5 minutes during the game. It was the 4th most in the game, trailing only Ray Allen, John Salmons, and Derrick Rose. Yes, this was a huge series because Rose was still young and healthy this season. I'm going to be honest here, I can't remember the last time I've seen a player go strong for that many minutes. It really shows his heart and passion for the game because he was still going strong that late in the game, and he must have been utterly exhausted at the time. It was almost as impressive as this next play we're going to show you. Buzzer beaters always get the fans riled up, regardless of which arena you happen to be in. And some are crazy impressive as well, which is why this buzzer beater from Rondo deserves to be on the list. The Celtics were playing the Philadelphia 76ers, and the game was tied at 17 with seconds remaining on the clock in the first quarter. Rondo drove into the paint hard but was seriously walled off by his defender, so much so that Rondo was inches from falling out of bounds at the baseline because he couldn't get around him like he'd hoped. Instead of panicking and passing the ball back to a teammate or just taking the turnover, Rondo thought it would be a great idea to shoot the ball. With the defender right in his face and while falling out of bounds, Rondo rose up and drilled the shot from behind the backboard. The clock expired right as the ball left his hands as well. It takes so much concentration to even get a shot like that on target while just attempting a shot from behind the backboard in general. Now, add in a defender right in your face with a clock counting down and your body is falling away and out of bounds. This was just one of those situations where you watch a play and feel like it looks so easy to accomplish. Then you go outside and try something similar yourself and realize it's actually really hard to do. Believe me, I've taken my fair share of jump shots from behind the backboard too, and as easy as these guys sometimes make it look, it takes a lot of touch to get the ball to go through the hoop at all, and Rondo practically swished it with ease in this case. Hey, thanks for watching this video, guys. On your left, you can watch all the times Rajon Rondo took things a little too far. If you don't feel like watching that one though, then on the right, go ahead and watch what Giannis Antetokounmpo has done since 2013. But either way, guys, you gotta pick one.